And I found the definition of older persons to be a bit difficult, and therefore I thought to myself, let everybody decide where older persons begins, and I chose to say 40 because I want us to think into the future, or to have a few years around us to plan how we're going to make life better. My name is Ese Zanambasi. I'm a medical doctor by training. I love what I do in this opportunity, and I hope that as we discuss this particular topic, we can come up with some bright ideas and share thoughts on how we can make the world a healthier and happier place. Then coincidentally, between the 9th and the 15th of October is National Nutrition Week. So I thought, wow, that's exciting. Now, apparently there is no single segment of our society that can benefit more from regularly performed exercise and improved diet than the elderly or older people. So let us actually take that very, very seriously. Many elderly people wish to spend their later years healthy, and they wish to achieve great accomplishments in their lives. That's a fact. To achieve that, however, rather than considering an aging population as a negative social phenomenon, we should create a society where elderly people can enjoy a healthy, prosperous life through social participation and contribution. I found that statement so important because, yeah, we can actually tap into a lot of wisdom. And then factors that hamper the elderly from leading a healthy life include factors like psychological and social problems, as well as high incidence of disease. So we have to be cognizant of that and hope that we can do something about it. That's just a picture to show an elderly lady who's being taken for a walk by a younger person. But this picture attracted me because there are generations that can help each other and work together. And that's the point I want to make. So just a bit of information. One of the things that hampers the older generation are joint and muscle pain. They're always complaining, and that will stop them from being physically active. But you do know, don't you, that constant non-specific muscle and joint pain or discomfort can be due to vitamin D deficiency. And lately we've been hearing a lot about vitamin D. And then there are other associated things with vitamin D deficiency, such as lower back depression, and that can lead them to have psychological issues that causes them to isolate, causes us to isolate. I shouldn't say them because I'm an older person. I'm 20 years beyond 40. So that qualifies me in that group. And then, of course, the winter months, a lot of people become very, very vitamin D deficient during the winter months and will need to supplement. Then the ideal is to combine sufficient exercise and a healthy diet. Physical activity and nutrient intake are important determinants of health throughout life. So I'm not just focusing on the elderly. It just happens that tomorrow is a day when we must focus on the older persons. But the factor that it has to be throughout life should remind us that we have to be thinking about this right from the beginning of life, looking at pregnant women and before, and then the children as they come into this world. Many of the alterations in physiological structure and function that occur with age may result from disuse and disability, as well as from diet deficiencies. And we've mentioned that already. Although a healthy diet can provide significant health benefits, Diet alone is not sufficient to provide optimal health, nor protect us from the hazards of sedentary habits, so the hazards of just sitting and doing very little, right? Having cleared that, nor is physical activity alone without diet. So I'm trying to emphasize that point. Now, what are the challenges of unstable diet and undernutrition in older people? You just have to put it into context. The older we grow, the more likely it is that we cannot absorb or assimilate nutrients into our bodies for whatever reason. Either we might have problems with our dentition, our teeth, or the gut might not be able to absorb anymore, or we are just unable to eat because we are depressed. So Japan is one of the places which has what we call blue zones. Now, blue zones are places where there are people who grow to be over 100 years old. So Japan has a very high population of the elderly. But a survey was done there, and they found that in people aged over 75 years, and particularly over 80, that there was low or insufficient intake of nutrients. And also undernutrition in older people is increasing, particularly in women. It is more pronounced in women. So these are just factors to think about. And the factors include the social factors that we have talked about: living alone, eating alone, and obviously poverty. So I want us to consider what solutions, but before we get there, the common triggers for disease conditions, all right? Inadequate nutrients, inadequate mobility, hormone imbalances, bacterial overgrowth, toxins, heavy metal toxicity, high blood sugar. A lot of the elderly have been diagnosed with diabetes and are on medications. Low-grade viral infections. Don't take this lightly. Right now, we are going through a high-grade viral infection, a pandemic, but we've always had viruses. It's not a new phenomenon. And then, of course, chronic allergic responses to food. So I just thought I should bring this out so that we put everything into context and make a case for how we can address those issues. So I just want to introduce this concept. There is what we call a wellness pyramid, where on the base of that pyramid should be physical activity and weight management, and then the diet, but you notice physical activity. The typical lifestyle pyramid, however, is that despite some physical activity, it might be very little, the diet is too rich in the wrong sorts of nutrients, too much sugar and processed food of. So we have work to do. And again, just a reminder that when we are born, we are by and large supposed to be very, very healthy. And in the early years, we are energetic, and then we might slip into the tired zone and eventually become sick. But the tragedy is, of our proposed 100 years that we all would love to reach, half of them are spent in the tired and sick zone. And yeah, only about 20 to maybe 40 years are spent energetic and tired. And then beyond that, a lot of the years are spent in this kind of zone. So let's brainstorm. Let's think of ways to change that poor picture, the bad prospects. So one thing I want all of us to remember is that being healthy should be at a cellular level. And when you have healthy cells, eating whole grain oils that have been processed out of all the foods that we happen to be eating, the problem is that the cells become unhealthy. So there is a simple solution, and this is from this company that we would like to share with our guests. I know there are quite a few guests on this call. And the simple solution which might be the one thing you could start with if you have elderly relatives, or if you're elderly yourself, or if you're like me, way over 40, I hope all of us are in that age group, is to feed your cells. This will enhance your energy, improve nutrient utilization, so that that issue of malnutrition in the elderly can be reduced to some extent. But let's look at more solutions. And before I get there, there is a challenge that I have observed. I may not have introduced myself fully, but I have been in medical practice for over 30 years, over 35 years, golly. And polypharmacy was one of the things that used to distress me no end when I was doing clinical practice. And I would argue that, listen, we don't need to put you on so many drugs, because let me explain this to you. This one is causing a side effect, which this one is trying to treat. And then that side effect is resulting in you needing another one. And so it went on. So polypharmacy, too many drugs, is one of the things that we have to do something. The problems of adverse drug events, drug interactions, duplication of effect, and the presence of drugs that require particularly careful administration are all big challenges for the elderly. Barriers to these measures include, and barriers to stopping that polypharmacy, multiple medical institution visits for each disease. So you find an elderly person goes to the orthopedic and then has to go to the ENT and then has to go somewhere else. There is no holistic attending this particular person as a person. We are busy treating diseases, okay? We don't see it as a person. We don't see the person as a person. We see just his disease. So there's lack of coordination between professions and lack of understanding by patients and the families. Major problems. But most diseases are as a result of inflammation. And I think that's where we need to start looking so that we can offer solutions to the root cause. And I'm particularly keen to assist people to untangle what could be the root cause. And usually it's actually quite simple. That's why the name of my brand is Simply Healthier. Right, now, who can we trust? I know a lot of people go and take the shortcut to simply buy things over the counter. And I just want to see who is unmuted so that I can mute her. Okay. It's tempting to buy whatever you feel will work, but do you understand the labels? And do you trust those who are producing whatever it is that it might be a vitamin you're told, okay? But here's some research that was done between 2007 and 2016. They found that 776 products marketed as dietary supplements contained hidden active ingredients that are unsafe or unstudied. So that's what we are facing, a big problem. So I just want to introduce you to some people that you could trust, and we'll talk about the supplements that they've come up with, and not just supplements, totally holistic. This is the Scientific Advisory Board of NeoLife. It was founded by this gentleman towards the end of the 60s, in the very early 70s. He came across towards the end of the 60s after spending his career researching and actually developing chemotherapy. Then he said, okay, from his studies, he knows that cancer can be prevented. Now, we all know that cancer is one of those dread diseases that most elderly people suffer or fear, and therefore obviously have to get a lot of insurance against it. Anyway, when that was declared by Dr. Arthur First, there was general unhappiness, and he then left that industry, came across to NeoLife, which you have to remember had been going since 1958, And then in the very early 70s, founded the Scientific Advisory Board, which researches and develops everything. And the first product he pioneered or created from food, everything is from human food, was an antidote to chemotherapy that he had founded, which is called Beta Guard. It's a big detoxifier. It's a wonderful product. Somebody on this call was telling me before we started recording that she actually started her detox yesterday. It's something that one can do regularly for good health. So we can trust them. And then let us think of how we can become more proactive. I think it is so exciting that we can begin community gardens, get more people involved in growing food and becoming physically active as they're doing that. And as they do that, there's a good carbs pyramid where we are supposed to be eating lots of leafy and colorful vegetables, fresh fruits, berries, nuts, seeds, and all these things, and whole grains, and very few potatoes, especially the white potatoes, the so-called nightshade brand of potatoes. I discovered that they were not good for me personally when I became older, when I was way past 40. I think I was past 50 when I discovered that. So I don't touch them because they're quite inflammatory. But you can discover a few things as you become more mindful of what you do. So becoming proactive, I would love us to brainstorm. This picture is of this gentleman. He does look over 40, granted, but he looks like he's excited about life. He's involved with a laptop. He's also involved with his cell phone. He looks eminently teachable. And if we were to show him this opportunity and ask him to have a look, okay, I'm sure he would say, yay, yes, please, let's see what we can do. And then that would be a way for older wisdom interacting with the younger people to make everybody healthy. So this is what I feel, that the solution to this challenge is to share NeoLife. When you take out the bad stuff and put in the good stuff, you create balance. Your body knows how to create health from those ingredients. It's amazing, totally amazing. So I feel that we have empowerment opportunities, such as teaching each other, teaching the older people to avoid glutens and other allergy or sensitivity causing foods. And then we can give them options and a lot of information. Avoid refined sugar, eliminate triggers that lead to estrogen dominance. I had an interview yesterday and I was talking a lot about estrogen book live. Support the immune and hormonal system. The elderly and the younger people can start talking about these topics, okay? And then of course, supplementation and adequate antioxidants and bone, muscle, and joint nutrients. So there's so many empowerment opportunities, like sharing these and just saying, listen, this brand was the first to ever go green on the planet. Aside from that, they're very economical, they're non-toxic, and you can get a little club together, a few of your friends, you can share them, all right? And split the cost. And then they're going to last you so long, but you will have taken away toxins that are triggers to disease conditions. Our laundry compound, again, if you get a group of, let's say, 5 people, and everybody buys together 200 grams, no, these are 2 kilos. So you can get 400 grams or almost half a kilo each. Let's say there are 4 people and you each get half a kilo. I use 2 kilos in 6 months, okay? And it does all my dishes as well as all my laundry, and it does not clog anything. It can be used by hand or in the machine. So you're looking at create as you teach them how to build a business if they're so inclined, because we did agree that they are looking for ways to improve their lifestyle as well. Otherwise, we can work alongside. Then let's talk about the nutritionals now. We have the core nutrition, And pro-vitality, least that one can go on, and it's not that back-breaking as far as cost is concerned. But then it comes with omega-3, which will improve the memory, improve the joints, improve the heart health, improve feelings of depression and other psychological issues. All right. Then you have fruits and vegetables. They may, as we grow older, I mentioned that one of the things that hampers intake is the fact that we might not have the wherewithal to chew our food properly. So it's important for the older people to supplement. And of course, vitamins and minerals. As we grow older, we have fewer and fewer ways to assimilate these vitamins and minerals. And a lot of older people are quite deficient. Then the gut is important. I just picked a few examples, but fiber would be very, very important to be added to the diet. Aloe vera, similarly, very good for the gut, very good for stress, and is all together a good way of improving their health. And then we have to remember that calcium is important. Rather than living on painkillers and all those things that damage kidneys, they should consider something like CalMag, which has vitamin D in it. Then vitamin A and D per se, very, very important. Lipotropic adjunct, so important for heart health. But the important thing here is it has vitamin B, and vitamin B12 and folic acid are very deficient in the elderly because of the decline in absorption. So just picking that up, it's not an expensive product either. And vitamin C as well will nourish the adrenal glands and get the hormones, which we said is one of the things that causes problems, rebalanced. So I feel that we have so much to offer. Full motion for comfort, flexibility, and mobility. Remember, we said at the beginning, exercise would be important. So full motion, it has 90 tablets in here. Even if they were just to take one a day, it would make such a difference to the recommended amount is 3, but I get away with 2, and if I haven't forgotten, if I haven't remembered to take it on a particular day, it doesn't matter because I've been taking a lot of supplements and my body is now not in any shortage. Right, and then these are children's supplements. Some really older people might want something that they can suck. We have the children's vitamins, which the really older people, let's say over 75 or 80 or 90, or even 60 may prefer. Of these ones, I usually use the vitamin C because it tastes very nice. But yeah, you have options. That's the point I'm trying to make. Then finally, I did mention that we should go into farming, get community gardens going. Friends who are involved in that. We have Supergrow, which is so amazing at increasing yields and making farming worthwhile. I loved this picture because look at that wisdom and look at that desire to achieve and to really continue living. So let's not give up on the older generation as we think of tomorrow, and remember International Day of the Older Persons. As we look ahead to 100-year age of life, we rethink the creation of comprehensive society. We should rethink creation of comprehensive society and community. We aim to create an age-free society where everyone can play an active role. What I mean by that is that, let's say you are 25, you've seen the NeoLife opportunity and the NeoLife vision. Don't feel afraid to share it with the older generation. Their wisdom will build your business as well, okay? And you can work together to create that age-free society. We can live in peace regardless of age. Once we are healthy, we are more peaceful. Let us take our mission seriously, ladies and gentlemen. And our mission is to make the world a healthier and happier place. So for the guests on the call, I just need to let you know that I share the business side of this opportunity on a Tuesday evening, same time, but on a Tuesday. So yes, thank you so much for being here. And if anybody has a pressing question, I'm so glad Graham is here, because I know you are one of those who is really engaged in farming. Thank you.